So welcome to JCC kindergarten session. And actually, Joanne, I just want to say one other thing
Mhm.
before you start. I'm so sorry.
No, go
Um,
ahead.
I just want to let everybody know that while kindergarten is a comeback for us this year, there were a few reasons why we started kindergarten again, not only to, support the community in the fact that all of CPS schools were closed. A lot of the day schools weren't sure if they were going to open. But kindergarten is not new to JCC. We did it for many years when public schools and private schools only did half-day kindergarten and parents needed a full day. So it's been around for a really long time. I actually was the director of several of the programs at JCC that had kindergarten in it, and I'm really proud to say that Joanna and Emma are rocking this kindergarten thing. They are just incredible. We also have another kindergarten class called the Tulips. I think that next year, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think that next year we are probably going to have one kindergarten, possibly two. But that's why I invited Emma and Joanna, because they will be our kindergarten teachers if we only have one classroom. So Joanna, you go ahead.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna. We have a little PowerPoint presentation to share with you about kindergarten. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Awesome. All right. So welcome to kindergarten, everyone. So we're starting off with a little video that shows what our classroom looks like this year. All right. So when we walk in, we have over here a word wall. So we've been learning a lot of sight words so far. And here's like a little area in our room where we've been displaying them so far. The kids have been writing them using different materials. We have gel pens and pencils and crayons and oil pastels, and we practice writing our sight words in all different ways. We have our number line at the bottom. We've been learning about odd and even numbers, so we have a little anchor chart right there. We have our little classroom rules that we came up with together, our chart that has our whole month that we go by day, and we practice saying what day it is, the day of the week, the month. We have our schedule is up here on the wall, some more charts, our questions that our wildflowers want to learn about in kindergarten. They have so many questions, so we take notes about everything and let them really like guide the learning. We've also been doing some geometry this week, so we have a little anchor chart up there where we've been circling the corners and counting sides. Here we have a little classroom library. We organized our books based on different genres. Lots of whiteboards to practice writing. We have our little tables for snack and lunch and all our activities. Right here in the back, we have our wildflower gallery where we display our wildflowers work. They get to choose which work they want to display, whatever they're the most proud of. A lot of them right now currently have their self-portraits up, which they love very much. Over here is kind of like our writing center. Here we're collecting recyclables for different projects. Over here in this area, we have our theater area. So on the wall, you can kind of see where they have their masks. They all decorated their masks because we do theater class. So they kind of use those as costume props this year. And then we've written some plays together. So we've learned about plot and characters and settings. So on the wall, kind of back there, you can see some of the plays we've written out and then performed together. We have a little cozy reading area with a rug and some bean bags, a little peace corner friends can go to when they're feeling big feelings. We have lots of different loose parts and manipulatives to play with and learn with. And we have our wildflower family tree and our sign language alphabet, which we took pictures of all the wildflowers doing letters in sign language. And then we put them up on the wall too. to get some practice, and they've been doing such an incredible job. Yeah, and that's our classroom for this year. All right, so here on this page, we have our daily schedule. Emma, do you want to share the daily schedule?
Sure. So we arrive, 7:30 to 8:30, come in, have some breakfast. There's, different provocations set out. And then at 8:30, that's when the learning starts. There's a morning meeting, there's a question of the day, go over calendar. And then at 9 o'clock, we have our gym time, which is not gym time anymore. Now it's PE class. They do different obstacle courses, relay races, sometimes games that the kids make up. And then at 9:30, we do math, and then snack time. At 10:30, we do social studies or social emotional learning, which is sometimes reading different books about like inclusion, friendship, things like that. At 11 to 11:30 is reading workshop, and then 11:30 to 12 is writing workshop. Those are often pretty combined. And then we do lunch, and then instead of a nap time, we do an independent reading time for half an hour. So we turn off the lights and we give the kids books. Sometimes we just put on like some music or meditation, and all the kids just have their own little quiet space and just some time to themselves, but we do not have a nap time. Then we do science, and then we do specials, and we do something different each day. So on Monday we do music, Tuesday we do art, Wednesday we do theater, Thursday we do Jewish learning, and on Friday we do free play. And then after that we do free choice centers, and then an afternoon circle time, and usually during that time our class librarian chooses a book for us to read. And then some snack, and then we do journal time. Each of the kids have their own journals, a little notebook with space to like draw a picture and then lined paper underneath. So they're practicing, their storytelling abilities, their writing. So we spend a little bit of time on that each day in the afternoon. And then we have playground time, and then a little bit more free choice time, and then gym time at the very end of the day. So that's our day. We keep it very busy. We do not stop for anything.
All right, so as Emma said, we start our day at 8:30 with morning meeting. So after arrival and breakfast, we'll all meet on our letter rug. And during that time, we all say good morning to each other and just take some time to greet each other and say hi. We do a little bit of sharing time. Friends like to come in and share. Sometimes we have like a question. We have these popsicle stick questions that we'll pull out, and it's like a random question each day. Every morning they do have a question of the day. So when they come in, we have one clipboard that's a sign-in sheet where they write their names to sign in so we can check off who's there. And then on another clipboard, we have like a question of the day that's kind of like a would you rather sort of question where it's like, would you rather play in the snow or go to the beach? Those kinds of things. And then during morning meeting, we will make a graph of it. So we'll tally up how many friends want to do which one, and then we'll count those together. And then that's been a great way where friends have been practicing odd and even numbers, which number is odd, which number is even, which one has more, which one has less. And they've started coming up with their own questions, which is really fun, and just like a really fun and silly way to kind of get into the mood of learning. Like today's question was, do you like skunks or honey badgers more, which was one of the wildflowers questions. And I think yesterday was, do you like rainbows or unicorns? So very important business that we get down to right early in the morning. And then we'll go over like our jobs for today. Every wildflower has their own classroom job. So we have like an attendance taker, we have a timekeeper, the most coveted job, the line leader, which everybody wants, and like a door holder and all of those things. And it's just a great way to get everyone ready for the day and get us ready for learning and have some time to share and just kind of set the tone. After morning meeting, we have gym time, which is PE time. So during that time, it's really important because it encourages teamwork, sharing, taking turns, showing good sportsmanship, and exercising our bodies. Taking turns and being a good sport is definitely something that is a really big deal in the preschool and kindergarten ages. So we do a lot of like team building games. So we have these really cool nets that you can see in one of the pictures that for soccer. So we play big soccer games. We have these really cool cones. And we'll do like relay races, and they'll do relay races, hopping or skipping or galloping, and playing different group games like Stuck in the Mud. And they sometimes come up with their own games, which are really fun. Where they will list different ideas, and they'll kind of come up with their own rules. And so some of the games we've played are like mermaids and humans and unicorns and dragons. So it's a really fun way to let them kind of be creative and take charge of their own learning and playtime too, which is really fun. After PE class, we have math. So math is based on the Illinois State Learning Standards for kindergarten education. So we don't do just worksheets. We're not a fan of worksheets because we are a Reggio school still. So a lot of our math work and learning in general, we use a lot of loose parts. We do a lot of games. Sometimes we'll do like STEM challenges. One of the days we had the Wildflowers list all the things that they want to learn about in math. And one of their questions were, how many bricks does it take to build a house? So what we did was we used some Legos and we built houses. We built our own houses and then counted up how many Legos we used. One of their questions was, how can you make a boat that floats? So we used those same Legos then, and we filled up a big tub of water, and we built different boats and tested them and saw how many things can we put on top before it sinks. Will it float? And we had a really good time being able to do something that feels very much like play but has so much learning in it. And so some of the things like this week we've been learning about shapes and we've been doing a lot of geometry. And friends have been using different like pattern blocks to create different animals out of the pattern blocks, which is awesome because they use shapes like hexagons and trapezoids. And so we're still using all those math concepts, but in a way that's really fun and really led by the children themselves. And then, so all children learn in different ways. So not all math lessons are one size fits all. So a lot of times we'll do math centers as well, where groups are kind of differentiated based on what support or focus that child needs. So it's a really nice time to where a teacher can meet one-on-one with a child and kind of see where they're at, and kind of see how they're doing and what skills we need to work on or which skills they're really strong in so far. And then here on the side, you can see some pictures. There's Connor in some pictures. And like one of the activities here we did was odd or even numbers. We were labeling those. And then some of the friends were using cubes on 10 frames to represent math equations. We have one friend here we made our own dice to use. We do a lot of different kind of math games. So they created their own dice, wrote their numbers, created a visual representation, and just a lot of fun, a lot of ways to make math fun, because math can be one of those subjects that creates kind of a lot of anxiety. So we like to keep it fun and just based on wherever they want to take their learning. After math time, we have social emotional learning. So this is a really big deal in kindergarten too. It's a really great time for us to talk about different things like inclusion and friends who might have different hair or dress differently, and just accepting people who may be different than us. Or even talking about big feelings and managing how to deal with anger or feeling sad, and kind of brainstorming strategies together. So here on the side, you can see one of our wildflowers. We were doing an activity talking about positive affirmations, things that you can say about yourself that are really kind. So we made some rainbows, which we very much love in kindergarten, and then made some phrases that say, I am kind, I am powerful, I am brave. And then we posted those up in our room so we can have a little daily reminder and a daily like positive affirmation to look at.
Okay, reading and writing workshop. So like I said earlier, reading workshop and writing workshop, they overlap a lot because before these kiddos can really start to learn to write, we really have to practice these like letter sounds and reading them and listening for them and stuff like that. So we block out time for reading workshop and writing workshop, but sometimes we spend the whole hour doing reading and sometimes we spend the whole hour doing writing. It just does kind of depend on the day. So like with math, our instruction is based on the Illinois Early Learning Standards for kindergarten. And also like math, our instruction is more Reggio-based, and we do look for different ways to make this learning really engaging and fun for every student. So we're not giving them spelling quizzes and we're not drilling these different words into their heads. We're trying to find different games. We're trying to find different read alouds. We do things like, here's a picture of Mad Libs that we put together based on, you know, character, plot, setting that we practiced. And it's kind of hard to see in the picture, but we were practicing a bunch of different sight words that week. So we wrote all the sight words in a different color. So as we got to each sight word, we, you know, had to practice spelling it out. We do a lot of letter bingo to do uppercase and lowercase letters, which is something that we're working on too. We're doing a lot of the different letter sounds. So practicing coming up with different sounds for, you know, words that start with B, words that start with P, words that start with W. So coming up with all these lists and anchor chart together as a group, and then we kind of split off into smaller groups together to do reading or to do writing together. So okay, in science, again, these kids have 1,010,000 questions. They ask things that I never would have thought kids would ask, like how was the earth made? How does electricity get through the earth? You would never think that a kindergartner would think like this, but it's amazing. So we start each different unit by just asking them, what do you guys want to know? What are your questions about bees? That was one that we did a few weeks ago around Rosh Hashanah. And so we asked them a bunch, you know, let them ask a bunch of questions about it. And we learned the life cycle of bees. We had a beekeeper come in and do a little Zoom call with us. Right now we're doing weather. And we did the same thing, ask them all kinds of questions or let them ask us these questions. We made rain gauges. We did fossils for a little bit. A lot of science is based on what these kiddos want to learn because it's a lot more fun that way. It's a lot more hands-on. Yeah. Okay. So in music, we've been doing a lot of different musical styles by just exploring a lot of different musicians and also learning a lot of different games and stuff that explore like rhythm and beat and tone. We also have our morning assistant who is a musician, which is amazing. So she's been teaching us a lot of different fun new games and kind of helping us like take over like this music portion of the class too, of teaching us like how to to teach these like different parts of the music class for us. So she's been so much fun. She's teaching the kids, what is it? We Will Rock You, which is their new favorite song for music class right now. They've been having a lot of fun with that.
All right, so here we have art. So in art, we've been exploring all different types of styles and mediums, and lately we've been studying different artists through history. So some of the artists we've studied so far are Vincent van Gogh. On the side here, you can see our Takashi Murakami study, where we made the colorful flowers. We studied Kara Walker, Pablo Picasso, and Salvador Dali so far. And we use all different kinds of materials in art. Sometimes we paint, sometimes we use oil pastels, we use different kinds of construction paper. And it's usually a time where we're kind of inspired by one thing, and then we let the wildflowers kind of go with it. So for our Vincent van Gogh study, we used tin foil as the base. We used different shades of blue and white and purple paint, and we used Q-tips, and we kind of painted on the tin foil, which created all these different kinds of beautiful swirly blue Van Gogh inspired pieces. So our art studies are really, really fun. Here we have theater. So in theater class, we love it because it gives the children a chance to practice skills like creativity, public speaking, and improv, also storytelling, elements of plot, character, and setting. So one of our favorite ways to practice some theater skills is to create a play ourselves and then to act it out. So over here you can see we started with our characters one day, and so some of our characters were a superhero named Headband, Elsa, Anna, Bad Aliens, Tamar, Maui, a fox, and Moana. Those were our characters in our play. So then we thought of the setting. Well, where does this play with all these characters take place? And near some houses, outer space, a castle, Arendelle. And then together we work to create the plot. So what actually happens in this story. And then after we finished writing it out, the actors then take stage, they put on their costumes, and we take turns acting out the whole show. And it's very fun. It's very silly. And lots of learning is involved. So we're learning and not even realizing that we're doing some serious learning in there because it's so much fun.
All right. On Thursdays, that's when we do our Jewish learning. We talk about the Jewish holidays. At Rosh Hashanah, you know, we did Tashlik. We did, you know, we shook the lulav. Up here in the corner, you see a picture of Tamar. She made her own sukkah with an old box and some picture cutouts. We took a little walk one day and we collected branches, and then we made little sukkahs on a piece of paper. We talk about like the different letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and we practice the Hebrew alphabet song. We've been exploring the different lenses of Sheva, and we read all different stories of Judaism about mitzvot and tikkun olam, and connect them to our classroom and to our everyday lives. And more recently, we talked about Kol HaKavod. And so we find different ways to connect these like different pieces of Jewish learning to ourselves and to our classroom. So is that our whole PowerPoint? I think it might be.
Oh,
That's it.
good.
That's kindergarten. Yeah.
That's it. It's just so easy. It happens every day like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sienna, I saw you making a sukkah on one of those pictures too. So wait, Connor, Sienna, do you have anything to say about kindergarten? Is that what actually happens there? It's all true, Connor? Okay, just checking. Because you know Emma and Joanna, right?
Hmm?
How about you, Sienna? Is that it's all true?
You can try
Okay,
something
great.
now.
Okay. So
Yum.
I want to open this up to questions for any of the Poppy parents to ask the Wildflowers questions. And I also just want to let you know why I invited so many Heller people on this call as well, meaning like our Heller staff. Jamie, you know, things are really very quite different now, as you all are well aware. You know, Jamie's role is our social service provider. And there's two things about Jamie that you should know right now. First of all, she's expecting a little girl in January. So she is working from home and is still very much part of our team. She does Zoom into all of the classes and helps and works directly with me, you know, to make sure that, you know, classroom management, is all the way to, like, God forbid something happens in your family. Kindergarten has proven to be very, like Emma and Joanna said, very socially and emotionally, it's a big social emotional transition for kids. And there's lots of new things that they're hearing from around the world these days. And not only that, they're changing, they're growing and developing, and it's not the same as when they're in the poppies. It will really, I think, surprise you at how mature they get over that summer, and they hop into kindergarten, and all of a sudden, like they mentioned, they're asking really big questions and they're having really big feelings. You know, not that they don't now, they just, they just change a lot. So Jamie sets up weekly meetings with all of our teachers while these big feelings are evolving for them. And Emma and Joanna and all of our teachers at Heller have meetings, if they're weekly or bi-weekly. And I touch base with Jamie. Well, we practically talk every day, but we have a very serious meeting every week so we can talk about what's going on in each class. And so we're all very connected. And the other reason why Jamie and Bree are also here is because they know everything about our kindergarten classes too. So if you ever have any questions or you want to talk offline about kindergarten, they can talk about kindergarten in addition to Joanna and Emma. And we have Carly and Brianne here who are like masters of the wildflowers now with Connor and Sienna. So please feel free to, you know, unmic yourselves, unmute yourself, put a question in the chat box if you want, if you don't want to say anything, but please ask any questions you may have.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll take that down.
I thought you had a question.
Mm.
No?
Mm-hmm.
What did you want to, Sienna, what did you want to say about Emma and Joanna?
You're the best teachers I could ever have.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Thank you. You guys are the
Thank
best
you.
wildflowers we could ever have.
Connor would like to say something now too.
Yeah.
What would
Go,
you like?
Connor.
You're the best teachers I ever had.
You're so-
Thank you, Connor.
Chorus.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, Kelly. Thank you.
I always have a question. How do you approach learning for students who may have like a special needs with learning, whether they're working ahead or just might need some extra help or attention? Is there some sort of, I don't know, protocol for that, or I don't know. Is it just worked into the programming based on the like how Reggio is?
Yes. So in our classroom, what we do a lot, especially with like math and reading and like the core subjects, is we do a lot of differentiated learning and a lot of group work and one-on-one work. So some days we'll do activities where it's like whole class and everyone's doing the same thing. But then a lot of the days what we'll do is we'll do small group work, and students are kind of grouped based on where they're at. So if we have a group that's really excelling in a certain area, then they'll get work that's more challenging in that area. If there's friends who are struggling a little bit or need just a little bit more support in whatever it is we're learning, then there'll be a small group of friends and they'll meet one-on-one with the teacher, and we'll kind of do more work and practice to make sure all students are able to meet whatever the Illinois state learning standards are. So which is kind of hard when we do like big group work. So a lot of time we do mostly small work in small groups.
Okay. So that would like, oh, sorry.
No,
ahead.
go ahead, Kelly. I have something to add to that, but you go ahead.
So that would like change depending on like what subject you're in, because like my, like my family, we're all, I don't know why, I don't know if it's like genetic, we're all readers, but like everyone's horrible at math. So, so does that, it,
Yes, absolutely. So they're in different groups for different subjects, and even sometimes within the same subject. Like we've been doing a lot of work with like geometry this week, and last week we were really focusing on addition. So one friend, one wildflower 1 week might be really strong in addition, and they might be excelling and might be needing more challenging work in that area. But then the next week, maybe geometry is something, and shapes are something that is kind of a little bit more of a struggle, and maybe they need more help or just more time working with their friends and working with the group or working one-on-one with the teacher. So even like within the subject, their needs might change, where one concept might come to them a little bit easier. And there's also like different ways that students learn. So sometimes students are visual learners and they really like to be able to see it. Some like to be able to build it with loose parts and like show a number using different like small manipulatives. So there's different ways that they learn. So we really try to be able to meet with them individually and in small groups as much as we can to really give them like that one-on-one attention and support.
that's awesome.
And I'm gonna brag on Joanna and Emma, because also at the beginning of the school year, they will also be asking you what your expectations are for kindergarten. They'll also be talking to the Poppy teachers to find out where your child is at and looking at their parent-teacher evaluation forms. And also, if there's something like another step beyond, like, oh, like math isn't my strongest subject, if there is something beyond that, we're going to talk to you about like getting, some additional needs into the classroom. We do have in kindergarten, not just in the wildflowers room, but also in the tulips room, we do have a few children that have IEPs, which are individualized education plans. And if that's something that we feel like you might need to discuss, we're completely equipped to do that, and then follow those accommodations and add that to the learning as well for them, which they've been doing beautifully. So I don't think that's what you're talking about, Kelly, but like they will differentiate everything for the children differently than they're differentiating now in Poppies.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more in, like Joanna and Emma were saying, like in those smaller groups, without the children really knowing. Like I can tell you when I was in fifth grade, I totally knew I was in the low math group. There's none of that. It's
Yeah.
differentiated very in a great way, so the kids all are learning the same thing, but it's watered down for some of them, it's brought up for the others.
That's great. I feel like with CPS, they're like so fast to track them straight off the bat, and it's like inclusive, like inclusively for their whole curriculum.
Yeah.
And it's not like how the brain works at that age. It's like, it's too young for that.
I know. I mean, I always use the example that like in first grade, you're supposed to be learning how to read, and then second grade, you're reading to learn. That has gone out the window. We are now in this phase of like kids should read by kindergarten, which no one really is expecting, to be honest with you guys, but it's this race to get to the finish, you know, for kids with education now. And one of the reasons why CPS does this, and this is not a knock on them, but the reason why they're assessing and finding out where their kids are at is because they get funding for testing and all of that. So, you know, and that is not a knock. That's how they get their money, you know, for being a public school. And that is one of the benefits of being at a private school. We're not going to be doing that. We're going to be assessing them for our own interest and to give them the quality education that they need individually. And again, like I don't want to seem like I'm knocking CPS. My kids go to CPS, but it is one of the larger problems that I see in that system too.
Rachel, quick question. I think I heard that there's 2 teachers and a morning aide. Is that how supervision is structured?
So there are actually 15 kids in the wildflower room. So there are 2 teachers at all times.
Okay.
Plus there is an aide there is a one-on-one aide in their classroom. So, and she's very much a part of the whole group. And so is the little boy that's with her. It seems like there's 3 teachers in the room at all times. So this year is a little different. I don't know what that will look like next year. If we have 10 children, the ratio really for kindergarten is 1 teacher for 20 children. So right now, if I'm mistaken, I thoroughly apologize. I think that everybody that's on this call is actually registered for next year. So I think we have a total of like 6 or 7 right now. I'm assuming that we're going to go up to 10. It's very early in the registration process. If we have 10 or under, there will be 1 teacher at all times. So Joanna would probably be in the morning. And then Emma would come in from 11 to 6. If I go anything above 10, I will have 2 teachers at all times.
And is there, you know, a minimum? Is there a minimum number of kids for you to offer kindergarten?
I mean, right now it's going. I think there's 6 or 7 kids and I'm going to have it go. So don't withdraw if you're thinking.
I think that's a great question though. Like, so what if people do withdraw, like get into CPS or something like that? Like, do you think you would not run it if there's 4 of us, or like, is it hard to answer that?
If you guys are okay with it, and my people above say it's okay, I will do it. I mean, I just happen to believe in small groups for kindergarten. I think it's a nice stepping stone for kids to go into CPS or even to a private day school that has more kids. It gives them that 1 more year of opportunity to mature and grow. So yeah, if it's just, you know, the 5 or 6 that are or 7 that are enrolled right now, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact number. But yeah, I mean, it's going.
And like I said, some parents might want to repeat kindergarten with me, so maybe we'll help buffer the number.
Okay, great. Yes, I mean, Limor is like, she is my people finder. So if you're with Limor, like the class is going. So yeah, but I do think that everyone pretty much that I think Jordan is. I'm 99%.
Full disclosure, I mean, we got to figure it out. Like, you got to see where he is this week or this year and see what happens in the world. So that's where we are, honestly.
I know, the world is crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out on that. Any other questions? Because I would love for you just to hear just a little something from Brienne and Carly to like let you know like that parent perspective. And it's 7:42. We still, you know, we called this for an hour, and I also don't want to keep you guys forever. I also know it's bedtime and maybe you guys haven't eaten dinner yet. But just to hear from them.
More question on the chat, Rachel.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even look at the chat.
Is the learning of Hebrew language and Judaism in general only happening on Thursdays?
So it's blocked out for that time on Thursday. So that is considered one of our Specials is like Jewish learning. So we give it that time each Thursday, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we are only doing it on Thursdays. So we might read a book during reading workshop about, Sukkot or Mitzvot or Tikkun Olam, something like that. So it is interspersed throughout the week, but that time on Thursdays is specifically set aside for Jewish learning and for learning Hebrew language.
And they're also celebrating Havdalah on Monday, Shabbat on Friday. And you can really feel the air of like a Jewish holiday that's going on. And I think the most important piece for me is that I have been working on since I've worked at JCC in the 90s, is that when you enter a classroom, that it feels like you're entering a Jewish space. And I know that you guys haven't been there, so I don't mean to rub this in or anything, but when you walk into that room, when you walk into actually all of our classrooms, they have a really deep-seated feeling of Judaism and our values. There's a sukkah always hanging up in their room. They have a mitzvah tree. They have their mishpacha family tree. It gives you that warm community, Jewish community feeling. That's a great question. Did I miss any other questions on the chat? I don't think that I did. Yeah, Kelly.
I have a question. I have two questions.
Yeah.
So one, I was looking at the schedule, which goes all day, but I'm assuming not everyone stays, until 6 o'clock. Is there like a pickup point that the day like technically ends for kindergarten and versus would be considered like aftercare?
I think the majority of our kindergarten learning, we would say like kind of ends at that like 2:30 to 3 end. That's kind of where the biggest chunk is, where we do like our core subjects and everything. In the afternoon, there is definitely still a lot of like journal time and like time for one-on-one work with the teacher. So learning definitely continues all day, but I would say like the majority of those like core subjects and the kind of more traditional kindergarten day kind of ends at like that 2:30 to 3 o'clock time.
Okay.
The nice thing about like the all day schedule is that we're not necessarily tied to like, we're making our own schedule, so if we do like have to like flip things around, we do have the opportunity to do that. So if the kids are really into doing, the math games that Joanna plans in the morning, we can just keep extending that for a while, or the SEL or writing or whatever else is happening, we can just keep extending that and push things a little bit more in the afternoon. Or for whatever reason this morning, we ended up doing science in the morning because the kids were reading a book about hurricanes. So science ended up in the morning and we did reading and writing in the afternoon. But everything always just gets done every day. Yeah. So, yeah. But I would agree with Joanna. It usually is probably about like 8:30 to 2:30 is kind of like the core of our day.
Nice, though. It's not like crammed in.
It's not, no.
And
oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, and don't forget, like, you guys own all that time from 7:30 to 6. And so if you're there at 7:30, that's okay. If you come in at about 9 or 8:30 when the day starts, that's perfect too. And then in the afternoon, like, we suggest that you pick up like around 3 or 3:30 so they don't miss that learning time. But it's definitely not just like aftercare.
Yeah. And then my other question, I guess, would be for the parents. Like, what do you think the transition, I know it's early to tell, is going to be like, kind of going from this small community and then transitioning, into a first grade class? I mean, I know either way, whether it would happen now or after kindergarten, it's going to happen, but there's no like first grade at the JCC. So
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
how
I was actually hoping that tonight you would announce the application deadline.
I love you, Bria.
You just extend it like K-8 and make our lives much easier. I think COVID will be over by then.
Dylan's like very concerned whenever I talk about kindergarten. He's like, my friends are going to be there, right? My friends are going to be there, right? I mean, some of them been together since they were babies.
I know it does. That's why. That's also why we have Jamie, because it does create anxiety. You know, like even when they switch from classroom to classroom, sometimes that creates anxiety. But I'm going to turn that over to the moms, because that was a question for the moms, and I could talk all day. So Brianne or Carly, if one of you want to answer that.
Yeah, so I mean, I can try to answer it. I think, we're all sort of, confronting new experiences. Connor is my older child, so I haven't been through this with any child before. Yeah, and I think most likely Connor will be at his neighborhood CPS school next year, which is where he was going to be this year. And I have some anxiety about that transition, but mostly I just feel really grateful to have had an extra year for him in this environment. I think, obviously every child is different, but my child he's younger. He's a July birthday boy, and a little more on the, reserved side. And, especially with CPS being remote for at least, for the foreseeable future. When I found out there was going to be kindergarten at Heller, it was just such a gift for him, being able to, keep him in an environment where he was going to be with his friends and have that, really one-on-one attention from the teachers. So, for me, I look at it less of, is this going to make his transition harder next year? I don't know, but I'd like to think it won't be any harder than it would have been going from pre-K at Heller to kindergarten at Coonley. But my hope, and I feel relatively confident about this, is that it'll be easier for him because he's had that extra year of being supported and being able to, start getting his bearings with, reading and writing and math and all of the things that he's learning in kindergarten, that, I'm hoping that he'll feel that much more prepared from having gotten to spend an extra year in this environment.
Thanks, Brianne.
Thank you.
Can you help me find this yellow spot?
Okay, 1 second. Sorry, we have a yellow marker situation in our household. Yeah, no, I'm definitely nervous for next year. But this one here, I think JCC is her 5th daycare/school. But one of the things I'm hoping is that because of Joanna and Emma and the things they've taught these kids, and just being kind and friendly and, trying to include people, I'm hoping that, Sienna brings that to her next school. And it'll be a hard adjustment, but just, I'm hoping with what she's learning this year, she can bring that into the new environments and, make any place great for her and her friends.
And also, we're not doing this yet, but towards the end of the school year, we start preparing for transitions. The children are hyper aware of when things are about to change. And, most likely they'll go to camp. So there'll be that transition too. So there's always going to be lots of transitions. Tanya, do you have a question? Oh yeah, Elle does. Okay, give me 1 second, Sweet Pickle, okay? So those transitions are something that we're also gonna work with you to prepare your child with. And that's why I have my good friend Jamie here, because she's seriously an expert on that. And we'll work with Emma and Joanna and help them with, help the kids and you all, by the way, with any anxiety that you might have about going to first grade. And if I do get the honor of having your children again for first grade and kindergarten and second grade and third grade and beyond, like if I could build a rooftop deck, I will let you know. But Brianne, it was, I have to tell you, like this group has been together for a really long time, this Wildflower group. And I think getting this kindergarten group together was more for me than for all of you. I would have, even this Poppy group, like you guys are a bunch of we just have special, sweet, beautiful kids at Heller and some pretty amazing staff. And so it's really just an honor, and not to sound hokey, but it's an honor to have your kids for kindergarten. I was the way that everybody responded to it was just incredible, and I'm so glad they're here another year, because seeing them do kindergarten is incredible. They're smart cookies, man. They really are. Okay, Yael has a question, and then Limor has a question. Sorry, Limor, but Yael comes first. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to say something to the teachers. No, what do you want to say? No, that's
I got a candle.
Ooh, very cool.
What kind of candle is that?
the Hanukkah candle.
A Hanukkah candle.
You're getting ready early. I like it. You're my kind of girl.
Say thank you.
And my name is a Hanukkah.
Yeah.
You're
for fun.
Thank you.
Yay, yay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's silly. So, hey, Joanna and Emma. Limor wants to know if the kids ever have homework or projects to do outside of school in kindergarten.
So we do not have homework in kindergarten. Especially,
I thought you might like that answer.
I mean, not only are they 5 and 6, but especially with like the long school day and having that option to stay at school till 6 p.m. And we've said this to the Wildflower parents, if you would like us to send more work for your Wildflower to do at home or on the weekend, we always can, but it is not a requirement in our classroom because we definitely do keep them busy all day. We're moving from one subject to the next, from one activity to the next, and especially with like doing worksheets, and especially during like this crazy time, the last thing we need is 5 and 6
Don't need that extra added pressure of doing homework. So,
amen.
Do you have something you have to say to Yael?
No. The novelty of Zoom hasn't worn off.
You can show them. Go ahead. Go show.
So I want to give the opportunity for any more questions, comments, concerns. We also love compliments. Anything that you want to say, give you an opportunity before we say goodnight, because it's almost 8 o'clock. No?
Go ahead, show it now.
Hi, Seth. I see you there.
Hi,
So,
Rachel Weber. Big
Oh,
fan.
I was looking for my stats.
so I just want to say thank you for joining us, and kol hakavod to Emma and Joanna. You guys I just respect you so much for doing this. We put kindergarten together at the end of July, and these two women made a curriculum, worked with me to make sure that this is a top-notch kindergarten, and you're doing it. So thank you. And
I also wanted to say Anita sent us the storyboards, and I forwarded it to a lot of the moms, and they're amazing. I mean, I wanted to cry looking at them. So good job. Thank you guys for putting it together and giving us the great option for next year.
Let me know, and we can send it to you, because they're fantastic.
Yeah.
But you guys also have Carrie right now, and Carrie's storyboards are pretty fantastic too. So yeah, but top notch. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I have
Say bye-bye, Joanna.